Breaking news out of Los Angeles. The Chargers have just made a bold roster move that could shake up their defense heading into a crucial divisional matchup. Stay tuned, this story is moving fast, and you won't want to miss a single detail. Before we dive into the full breakdown of this signing and what it means for the Chargers, make sure you hit subscribe, tap that like button, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you're first to get every major update. Alright, here we go. The Los Angeles Chargers have officially added a disruptive new force to their roster, and this move could be a game changer. With Denzel Perryman sidelined, the Chargers wasted no time filling the gap, signing linebacker Kai Maga to the practice squad. This isn't just any signing. Maga's college resume at USC turned heads early, playing in every game as a freshman, then exploding in his sophomore year with a sack, an interception, and a forced fumble in his very first start. He closed that season with nearly 60 tackles and multiple pass breakups. After going undrafted, Maga bounced between the Broncos and Raiders before finding a spot with the Chargers. He was briefly released on August 26 but is now back on the practice squad, ready to step in and prove himself. With a huge divisional game looming, this move shows the Chargers are serious about fortifying their defense. What could this mean for their upcoming showdown? Let's break it all down. Let's break down why this signing actually makes sense. Kai Maga isn't just another name added to the practice squad, he's got the frame, the speed, and the experience that hint at real potential. Standing 6'2" and weighing 245 pounds with a 4.67 40-yard dash, he's built to handle the physical grind of the NFL. He's not new to big stages either. Maga played plenty of high-level football at USC before navigating the chaos of the COVID years and landing stints with both the Broncos and the Raiders. 3 years in the league may not sound like much, but it gives a player a feel for pro-level speed, schemes, and expectations. That's the kind of background you like to see in a depth signing. And speaking of the Raiders, the rivalry here runs deep. If you're new to it, you might be surprised how intense it is. Chargers fans and Raiders fans have been at each other's throats for decades, and every matchup feels like more than just another divisional game, it's a battle for bragging rights. Sure, there's some grudging respect for the Broncos and the legendary names they've had, and of course nobody loves facing the Chiefs right now. But Raiders-Chargers week? That's personal. So as the Chargers gear up for this showdown, adding a player who's already seen the Raiders up close adds a fascinating twist to the story. He knows their tendencies, their speed, their style. That's the kind of edge that can quietly tilt the balance in a divisional fight. Here's the truth, nobody really wants to face Kansas City right now. Patrick Mahomes may not look like your typical superstar athlete, but he's deceptively quick, smart, and downright lethal with the football. He's the guy who breaks your heart on third and long and makes throws you didn't even think were possible. But the Raiders? That's a different story. The rivalry isn't built on respect, it's built on years of bad blood. Chargers fans feel it every time these teams line up. Winning against the Raiders isn't just about standings, it's about pride. And that's why this upcoming stretch matters so much. You're already 1-0 in the division. Beat the Raiders, and suddenly you're 2-0 with a shot at 3-0 the following week. Those are the kinds of wins that reshape an entire season. The more you win, the bigger every game becomes, and that's exactly where you want to be, center stage, fighting for control of the division. Every fan dreams of a Super Bowl, but only one team hoists the trophy. The real mark of a strong franchise is having meaningful games deep into the season, games with playoff implications, games where the whole league is watching. That's what Chargers fans crave, Sundays that matter, matchups with stakes, and the electricity of knowing your team is right in the hunt. This is exactly the stretch of the season that fans live for, the part where every single matchup starts to shape the standings. When you're in a division race, every question suddenly matters. Who's next on the schedule? Where do we sit in the standings? Are we positioning for a playoff run or fighting to stay alive? These aren't just stats, they're the storylines that define a season. Right now the road is clear, the Raiders are up first. Beat them and you're not just 2-0, you've planted your flag firmly in the division. After that comes the Giants, a team dealing with its own chaos, questions at quarterback, pressure on the coaching staff, and instability at the worst possible time. Catch them now and you might be facing a backup or a first-time starter still learning the ropes. That's an opportunity. Washington looms as a tougher matchup, but beyond that, the path opens up. Indianapolis has talent but is unpredictable. Minnesota can swing from dangerous to vulnerable depending on the week. Miami is another wild card, explosive at times, inconsistent at others. Early in the season it's tough to predict who's real and who's smoke and mirrors, but this stretch offers real chances to build momentum. And that's what makes the Raiders game so important. A rivalry is only meaningful when both sides are dangerous. Nobody enjoys facing a divisional rival that's already out of contention. It cheapens the victory. Think about when the Lions used to face the Bears at their weakest. A win felt more like a formality than a statement. But when your rival is strong, every yard matters, every turnover swings the mood of the entire fanbase, and a win actually feels earned. That's what we're looking at here, a showdown with stakes. A victory against the Raiders doesn't just go in the win column, it sends a message to the entire AFC West. It says this team is serious about the division crown, serious about the playoffs, and ready to take advantage of every opening on the schedule. This is the kind of moment where a season's identity starts to form. This is what makes this matchup so thrilling, no excuses, no soft landings. Both teams are 1-0, both believe they're contenders, and both expect to walk away with the win. That's what you want as a fan, a real test, strength versus strength, two teams swinging for the same prize. When the stakes are even, you find out who's for real. The Chargers do have some shuffling to handle, though. Linebacker Denzel Perryman is sidelined for several weeks with a high ankle sprain. That pushes Troy Dye into the starting role next to Diane Henley and creates room for Kai Maga to provide depth from the practice squad. It's the kind of mid-season adjustment that can quietly make or break a defense. Depth matters in September just as much as it does in December. Even with those changes, there are bright spots that can't be ignored. Rookie tackle Joe Alt, for example, has already turned heads. NFL analyst Brian Baldinger highlighted clips of Alt stonewalling one of the league's most feared pass rushers, Chris Jones, not just holding his ground but flat out erasing him from the play. That's not normal. Players with that combination of size, balance, and composure don't come around often, and when you have one, it changes everything about your offense. Watching Alt anchor that line was a reminder of what separates good teams from great ones, elite players who show up in big moments. When your quarterback knows the blind side is locked down, the whole playbook opens up. You can attack downfield, trust the pocket, and let your skill players do what they do best. All of these moving parts, the rivalry energy, the injury reshuffling, and the emergence of new stars, set the stage for a game that feels bigger than just week 2. It's about proving you're built to last, about showing that depth, coaching, and execution can overcome adversity. This is where contenders start to reveal themselves. Let's wrap this with what really stands out heading into this game. The protection Justin Herbert has been getting feels worlds apart from what we've seen with other quarterbacks around the league. Last week we watched the Lions' offensive front collapse snap after snap, their quarterback could barely set his feet. Herbert, on the other hand, has been standing tall and calm, operating behind a line anchored by Joe Alt. It's not just a difference, it's a luxury. When a quarterback isn't constantly looking over his shoulder, the whole offense changes, timing sharpens, confidence rises, and big plays open up. Meanwhile, the Raiders are coming in with momentum. They opened the season with a 20-13 road win powered by Geno Smith's 362 yards through the air, Brock Bowers snagging over 100 yards on just 5 catches, and a strong showing in the red zone. It was a classic Raiders performance, explosive, efficient, and physical, even thousands of miles from home. That kind of road win builds belief inside a locker room. The Chargers, of course, owned the head-to-head matchups last year, sweeping both games. But 2025 feels different already. The Raiders look sharper, faster, and more disciplined. This is no longer a rivalry where one side just assumes dominance, it's a live wire, and one slip could swing the game. That's why the stakes feel so heavy right now. On one side you have a Chargers team fortified by better protection, a rising rookie tackle, and an offense ready to stretch the field. On the other side, a Raiders squad confident after a cross-country win and eager to reclaim control of the AFC West narrative. This is what NFL football is supposed to be: tension, history, and two teams pushing each other to play their best. No matter how you slice it, this matchup isn't just another date on the schedule. It's the point where storylines converge: depth versus momentum, protection versus pressure, history versus hunger. This is where the season begins to define itself.